Hey friends, I'm Greg Nettle and I serve as president of Stadia Church Planting, where our vision is for every child on the planet to have a church. We do that by helping you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches for the next generation. Welcome to the Church Planting Podcast. Today's special guest is Kenny Jahng. Kenny is the editor-in-chief at churchtechtoday.com. He's the founder of AI4churchleaders.com. He's a guru in all things digital and marketing. We're going to be talking about the bad and the ugly for churches when it comes to marketing, what AI tools churches should be using, and what you should kind of be aware of. I'm really looking forward to this episode. I learned a ton from talking to my friend Kenny Jahng. Well, I'm really excited about this episode of the Church Planting Podcast. Kenny Jahng is joining us, and Kenny is kind of the guru on all things marketing, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Kenny, welcome to the Church Planting Podcast.
It's great to be here. Great to be here.
Kenny, let's talk about that. And let's just open with that because, lots of church planners, church leaders are listening to this. And, so for me personally, Stadia as leaders, we have a whole marketing department and branding team, and so forth. But a lot of people, they wonder, is marketing really the gospel? Is marketing the church okay? Talk to us a little bit about that just to get us started.
Yeah, marketing has been for decades a dirty word in church leadership and management, et cetera, right? And so I think finally you're starting to get appreciation in this digital first world that we're living in today, that if you're going to actually figure out how to reach new people in your zip code, you're going to start to embrace some of the best practices that the marketplace has under that category of marketing, right? You have to figure out how to attract, engage, and then convert these people into actual attendees for your church. And in order to do that, you have to embrace marketing techniques and tactics.
Okay, you used the term digital first world.
Yeah.
Define that for us.
Yeah, it's a world where I guarantee you everybody listening has this device or something like it in their hand.
I'm holding a smartphone up there.
Yeah. And whether it's that or a laptop, you've got something within reach. And we are now living in a world where you are assuming that everybody is using digital before they're doing something. So if before you visit a restaurant, you're actually looking up their website or looking up their menu or, going up on Yelp and seeing the reviews, right? Reviews are social proof. The only way social proof happens is by we aggregate them and make them available on digital platforms, right? So that's just one way that we think about things. Is all of a sudden churches are immune? Like before someone thinks about visiting your church, they're not going to look you up. Of course they're going to look you up. And so your website, your social presence, your digital footprint is now the front door to your church.
That's great. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So man, there's so much we can unpack here. Let's talk about that digital front door. Because I 100% agree with you. My wife and I, my family moved to Cleveland, downtown here 2 years ago. And the first thing we did was we started reviewing churches online. We didn't, it was a new city for us. We didn't have a home church. And that's, how we were, everything about it. Talking about the digital front door, what are the do's and don'ts? What are the must-haves as we look at that digital front door?
Yeah. So the first thing is, I think you need to think of your website really as that first impression for your prospective visitor, right? Whether you're a church planter or you're an established multi-site church, mega church, whoever's going to figure out how to get in touch with you, how to engage with you one-on-one in person is going to look you up first. And the way to think about that, I think, is how do you start a conversation? The way is not to give them a brochure and let them walk away. The way to have a conversation is get their contact information. And so the marketing term that we call a sales funnel or an opt-in, you're trying to build your Rolodex, your contact book, your list, your email list. And so how are you going to gain permission to have a conversation with them as soon as they discover you online somewhere? So whether that's on social media, or on your website, how are you driving to a point where you can actually get permission to extend that conversation beyond that initial interaction? And the number one way to do that technically is to figure out how to get their contact information, whether it's text or email, get that. And so that you can actually have a conversation with them.
Okay, so I'm thinking about this. First of all, I need you to define another term that you just used that I didn't
Sure.
understand. You said have them, get them in your Rolodex.
Yeah. I,
I'm just kidding you, kidding. I'm just kidding
I was
you.
gonna say, like, well, maybe you and I know that term, but the
Uh,
young ones on this channel
What's a
probably
Rolodex?
this
Okay,
is
hey,
one of the
I'm asking this with not tongue in cheek. I am dead serious. How do I get somebody's contact info on my website?
yeah, and it's not by saying, hey, sign up for a newsletter.
Oh, no.
Because I guarantee you this one, I'll bet your mortgage and my mortgage. No one listening to this podcast today woke up today this morning and say, you know what? I think I need to be on another email list.
Right.
No one wants to be on email. The only reason why email lists exist is for your convenience, not theirs. It's the only reason why these lists exist.
So how do I get it then if on my website?
So you need to provide value. You need to actually show relevance of why they need to be in communication with you. It's the same thing when you meet someone at a party, when you meet someone at Starbucks, when you meet someone for the first time in some social circles. There are some people that you want to stay in contact with after that first contact.
Absolutely.
Why? Because they have something you want to learn more about. They have something, they may be a professional contractor, a doctor, a lawyer, something that you might need to use their services. There's some reason that you want to actually have communication with them afterwards. So what is that? And so from our point of view, we need to think through their lens, the with them, the what's in it for me from their point of view of why they would want to give you their information. And that typically is some sort of resource, some sort of value that you want to actually give them or promise them so that they can actually give you permission to send them more information, to have that conversation. It's basic relationship development, right? Like we talk about marketing tactics and strategy and all this jargon, but at the end of the day, we need to be relational in everything that we do online as we are offline.
Man, that is genius, and I've never thought about it that way, Kenny. That the fact that our web presence is the first connection relationally to someone. That
And then, hey, great. Let's think about what actually happens because most church websites, you come to the church website and then we actually don't deliver the value there. How do people discover your website? Sometimes it's like you moving into a new neighborhood, you're looking for a new home. But for the people that don't go to church, the people that are spiritually open, they're Googling, they're searching for things based on their felt needs, right? And then they're discovering your website. So you need to think through their lens of what actually is there. Now, the typical experience though is you get to the website because they might have thought faith might be the answer. They're going to try something new. You get to the website, you actually don't deliver. The website then says, you must come to our building
yeah.
where we're going to lock the doors for an hour to 90 minutes. It's going to be just like a timeshare presentation. And we're
Oh,
not going to actually let you leave, right? We're going to have all this social, we're going to create this environment where you don't know the rules. It's going to be intimidating. You're not going to you can't speak. You're going to be shushed. And then we'll give you the goods. We'll teach you how to transform your life and give you the secret only if you come to our building where you're actually, held hostage.
okay. So what's the answer there? What do you suggest?
So this is my rant on church websites is why don't we start to provide them actual content and information that actually helps them where they are? Why can't you start to be a WebMD website instead of saying you must go to the doctor and wait online and be treated by the receptionist as if you don't actually have any status in life and just be, like at the doctor's whim? Instead of doing that, why don't you actually be a WebMD and actually give them things that they can actually use, that they can actually think through, that they can actually reflect upon, that they can actually be exposed to what the actual life transformation process that Jesus actually offers you once you get to the building, right? So that's my rant. I think the most church websites don't do a good job on content. They don't meet you where you are. They all want you to the with them from the church's point of view, the what's in them for me for the church's point of view. What do the pastors want? They want three things: baptisms, right? Bucks in the wallet, right? They want everything to be about the building. They don't want to serve you where you are. The church doesn't exist if you're not with us at our services in our building. That's the typical perception that outsiders get. It might not be what you intend as a church leader, but that's why church planters are a completely different breed than typical brick and mortar institutional
Okay, so
pastors.
I am loving this. So I'm going out to plant a new church, or let's say I'm doing a refresh at my existing church, and to think through this lens of what can I give away for free to people that are coming by, chance to our website that are doing some kind of search. That is amazing. Clips from sermons. Here's something on how to help your child with depression. Anything that would be of value for them just to click on a 3-minute video or a 2-minute video and check out. Kenny, let's talk about that. Stadia just went through a full brand refresh and did a lot of work on it, spent a lot of time on it. So there's a lot of people out there. I mean, their websites haven't been, refreshed or looked at in years. How often, give us some insights, how often should we be looking at refreshing our digital presence?
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like you and your own look, right? Your own persona. It's not like you reset how you actually look and dress every 10 years, every 5 years, whatever it is. You evolve. You buy one new piece of clothing, you take another piece of clothing, you get a different haircut.
Yep.
So I think you need to think of your website as a living document, and you need to evolve that thing over time. The pressure cannot be kind of like, hey, we're going to buy, here's another old school term. Do you know what an encyclopedia is, folks? If you're listening here, it's not like you buy an encyclopedia and then 10 years from now you buy a new edition that they updated 10 years later, right? It's not this installment thing that is the seismic changes once in a while. You need to actually update. And that gives you encouragement and opportunities that says you don't need to overhaul your entire website right now. You can just start with one new page or refresh certain pages at small increments. Incremental steps is the way to get things done.
Okay, very good. Hey, Kenny, you're the founder of AI for churchleaders.com. So let's move on to another
Sure.
really kind of somewhat volatile topic, even for many Christians today. It's not for me, but what AI tools should churches be using for marketing or in the church at all right now?
Yeah, we just did a survey with churchtechtoday.com and Exponential, and hundreds of pastors, and
Yeah.
seeing how they're using, what their perceptions are. And we're seeing that it's surprising, I think, to a lot of people to hear this. Of the respondents that actually prepare sermons, for example, 43% are already using AI tools to help them write sermons.
Do they even know it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And so um, the adoption rate is accelerating. It's still very nascent. But AI is being, it's being developed everywhere. It's basically anything that you're doing with language and communication, it's relevant. Anything that you're doing in terms of analyzing data, it's relevant. Anytime you're doing project planning, it's relevant. There's so many things that today you're using it on a daily basis that um, it fits into almost every single workflow of every single
Okay,
staff
well, let's get
member
very
in the church.
specific. I'm a new church planter, and I don't have I have way too much on my plate. Um, Give me some like specific things that I should be looking at AI to help me reduce the amount of time and to allow me to spend more time directly with people and different things or developing leaders and
Yeah.
stuff.
I mean, so I'll refer back to the study again. The things that people literally are using it right now in the top order is communications. So any communications that you're writing, analyzing data was the second one, administration work, event planning, sermon prep, engaging your members, outreach and evangelism and discipleship. All those activities, you can find AI tools to help you do that. Now, the most basic thing is chatbots. ChatGPT came on the scene in November 22, and that has changed everything. It's
Yes.
this new flavor called generative AI. It's instead of just processing and analyzing data, you're now using AI to create new things, new works. And so communications is the first place, right? Whether it's helping you to make your emails clearer and have better logic and arguments and be a little bit nicer, more friendlier. There's to revise and improve your writing is like one of the easiest ways to use it. If you're actually preaching sermons, um, you might not like using AI to prep, but in hindsight, you could use it as a coach. You could actually upload a manuscript that you've actually preached and ask it, how could I have strengthened my message? Can you give me pointers and tips on how I could have delivered this message stronger? And given this specific audience that I wanted to reach, how might that have been, how might that have been delivered better? And what questions did that audience, that segment, if you want to describe them, whether it's your youth, whether it's someone who just started attending church for the first time, whether it's a skeptic, that subsegment, what questions does this sermon actually bring up now that I need to address in my next sermon? Right. So there's all these things that you can do in hindsight and post that is not as controversial as helping you to create the actual sermon upfront.
Okay, and so talk a little bit about AI for churchleaders.com.
Sure.
What's going on with that?
Yeah. So with any ministry front where there's innovation and tech, things are happening so rapidly. Over the last, I think, 2 months, over 1,000 unique AI apps have been launched alone in the world. No one can learn it together. No one can learn it alone. And I say everything is better together. So we have a community that you can join. It's a Facebook group under the name of AI for Church Leaders and Pastors. If you search for AI for Church Leaders and Pastors, there's a group we're crossing 6,000 people in the group, trading notes and examples and questions and answers every single day. It's a hyperactive group. And then complementary to that, we have monthly workshops and a training video library at aiforchurchleaders.com. You can subscribe. We have live workshops every single month. We've got courses. We've got tons of things that you can actually learn from there. And to get real world ministry use case examples of actually how to use AI. So this morning I was just on a workshop and we shared how to use ChatGPT to create a set of 31 devotionals. And then we put it into Canva in bulk and we created 31 social media video reels within 15 minutes for all of it.
Oh my heavens. Okay, so AI for churchleaders.com, check that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so engagement of people. Like I'm a church planter, I'm moving in, but even if I'm an established leader, I'm moving into the city, the urban area, the rural area, wherever, and I've got to engage people.
Yeah.
You actually have a framework you use called the Art of Engagement. And I know that's for AI and all kinds of different things, but I think it has a broader application. Can you talk about the Art of Engagement a bit with us?
Yeah. Art of Engagement framework is for content marketing, for basically what we've learned is, especially in this digital world, people are bombarded with messages and calls for actions, et cetera. And what we're finding is when our team goes into consult with an organization and ministry for the first time, we'll see that they're doing some things right, but they're not getting traction. They're not getting the actual results that they want. And typically when we diagnose, we found out there's these 3 buckets, and within each bucket, there's these 3 little activities. So there's 9 things total that we actually do an audit on. And we find that if you're, unfortunately, in today's world, you need to spin all three plates, ART for art of engagement. You have to establish your authority in very specific ways. You have to demonstrate your relevance to the audience in very specific ways. And you have to build trust with the audience in very specific ways. If you're able to accomplish those 3 things, establish your authority, demonstrate your relevance, and build the trust, then that's when you see your actual target audience, your perfect audience starts to engage with you. And so you're able to apply this art of engagement, follow the activities and the strategies that we have to then nurture raving fans for your mission. You're going to get people that want to get activated, that are actually leaning forward in their seat, wanting to hear what you have to offer instead of turning a blind eye or feeling like you're a little bit too much hypey, or, that you're actually coming off sleazy. You're just promoting with brute force and they just don't want you. Right. So, those are the types of things that you get with the art of engagement. And so the first step is you have to define your mission, your cause. It needs to be manifesto worthy. Why do you exist? You can no longer assume interest in your church and Jesus and everything. The culture used to be that you can assume interest. You can't do that anymore. You must demonstrate the relevance for that. And part of that process is really trying to start those conversations. So again, going back to how we started this conversation, websites right now for churches typically just assume your interest, that we all know what the church is for, what I'm going to get out of it, and why I should attend. And I'm just going to go there because it's a brochure for your address, your Google Maps, and your times. And that's it. You can't assume that anymore. And so there's all these things that we have to do today to actually show what is the authority, why the biblical worldview? What's so great about it versus just pointing to it and say, yeah, it's the Bible because it's God, because that isn't assumed anymore. And so you need to establish that. You need to show your specific process of transformation for your community member. So what is going to your church actually do? Can you articulate that for your actual church or your church plant? Who is it for? And what are you promising at the end of the day? If they go to your church and they start to go to your Bible study groups and they volunteer and they become a leader and they actually study the Bible every day, what actually happens? What's the difference? We are not articulating that well in general for our churches across this country right now. And this is where I think church planters, they enter first on the trust, right? The church planters have one-on-one relationships first, and that they are able to get traction because they're able to bring people along. But most other churches don't have that at first. They're relying on social media and ads and emails and stuff like that. And that's why you're not getting traction, right?
Yeah, I'm a little, this whole thing is I mean, I'm looking at the relevance piece and I'm just
Yeah.
thinking this through. I'm going in, I have an existing ministry or a brand new church I'm starting, and I'm going, okay, what are the questions I need to be asking? I'm assuming getting that to be relevant, I have to know the community I'm launching in like the back of my hand.
Absolutely. You need to know not just demographics, but what their issues are. What are they going through? You could use a tool like Missional Insights to get the demographic reports and drill down on it. And if you're a church planter, you can figure out, how many people within a 15-minute driving radius have a family with 2 or more children, the ages of 2 through 6, that, you can literally go through and map that out. And then you have to reverse engineer, what do they have in their life? What are the felt needs? What are the life transition moments that they could use community? They could use flourishing. They could use a different worldview. Right? Because most of the times if you don't have Jesus, you're trying different things and strategies in life to find that happiness, to find that end goal, but it just ain't working. And you got to try something new, right? Something different. It might be Jesus, but you need to be able to frame that and understand what is it that they're knocking their heads against the wall to try to figure out how to get peace, how to get to success, how to get to wherever they want to go in order to redirect them to Jesus. You have to find that relevance point.
Yeah. And so then let's talk about authority, because if somebody's coming to our website, how do I let them know? Like, I mean, I can't just write on there, hey, I'm a great communicator, you're going to want to come listen to me. That's my authority. How do I establish authority?
Yeah. So 3 things. You got to establish your why. So you got to have a very articulate statement as to why you exist and what is the purpose. That's the first thing. It needs to be very crisp, and it needs to be manifesto worthy. It needs to be so that someone really heartfelt understands when they hear it, that says, you know what, that's what I want. That's what I need. That's something different. That's something that doesn't resonate with what the marketplace and secular culture is giving me. That's something different. And that's something I'm willing to sign up for, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is you have to show them the what. So what is that? What does that church life look like? Right? Most people outside just think it's just coming to your church on Sundays and that's it. So I'm going to get inner fulfillment by going to church, to be locked in a room for 90 minutes, hoping that they have pillows to give out so I can fall asleep during announcements every week, and then shell out money from my wallet during the offering time, right? So you have to dispel those notions. You have to give them a signature solution of what community life really means and what the outcomes are. So you have to show that process of transformation. And I say you have to show it almost like to the point of confidence that's a mathematical equation. That if you come and do these things, maybe it's an assimilation pathway to show how people grow. Here are the things that we do as a Christian in our Christian life with our church community. And this is what you can expect along the way. And at the end of the journey, then that's where you will find whatever the end goal is. You need that what? Signature solution. And then what you referred to a little bit before, you can't say you're the best. You need testimonials. That's the who.
That's good.
So the testimonials don't say how great you are. The testimonials show them that I went through the signature process, or I'm on the journey of the signature process of the church. I'm only at step 2 or step 3. And guess what? My life has changed already. This is the way to actually try something different. So the why, the what, and the who all encompasses how to establish your authority. That's the first building block of driving the perfect audience to your church and engaging them and nurturing them into raving fans for the mission.
Okay, so this has been incredible, Kenny. So if people want to get in touch with you and your company, well, what's the steps they take?
You can find me on social, Kenny Jahng, everywhere. If you want to go to artofengagement.org, that is our agency team there. AIforchurchleaders.com is the AI stuff. And then just broadly, I'm also editor-in-chief over at churchtechtoday.com, and we talk about a lot of things that are pertinent to the digital world and digital ministry.
Kenny, I look forward to having you on again, and where we can dive even deeper into these topics. It's been an absolute joy to learn from you today. Thanks so much for being on the Church Planting Podcast.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Thanks for listening to the Church Planting Podcast, part of the Stadia Podcast Network. To find more great episodes and to see how Stadia can help you start thriving, growing, multiplying churches for the next generation, be sure to check out stadia.org/podcasts.